Commissioners meeting to order. I ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for coming tonight. With that, I need to have an approval of the agenda. This is for the end of 2023. Mr. Nemi, is there a second to that? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And we also need to have a separate motion to approve the December 26th board meeting minutes. Okay, is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And informational on December 29th, 2023, the listing of the bills. Payment previously was approved. It's on page 8. And with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn sine die.
So moved. Second.
Second, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Administrator, you're up.
I'll call the 2024 agenda portion of the meeting to order, and I'll open up the floor for nominations for the 2024 board chair.
Mr. Administrator, I will nominate Commissioner Adams.
I'll second that.
Motion is to nominate Commissioner Abbey. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? There being none, is there any discussion? None? All those in favor of nominating Commissioner Abbey to the 2024 board chair, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion passed. Congratulations.
All right, thank you.
I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Yep, we'll move. Everybody. Mr. Vice Chair. All right, so next up is the election of the 2024 Board Vice Chair. Do we have any nominations?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to elect James Brady for Vice Chair.
I'll second that as well.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Suppose I have to ask for other nominations. Are there any other nominations? That's one. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing none. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Welcome aboard. Next up is to approve the agenda. Any additions to tonight's agenda?
None, Mr. Chair.
None.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the approval of the agenda as printed.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as printed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up is rules of order, page 2024 of your board packet. It's the board's wishes.
Mr. Chair, board members, the noted changes are in red on, starting on page 24. Most of them are minor changes. I think the major one, the more significant one on here is section 8 there, where we're kind of transferring some of the board clerk duties from what used to be the auditors to the administration side of things here. We're still in transition on all of those things, but that's probably the most significant. The rest are just describing things that are really happening and just needed to be changed.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt the changes in the rules of order.
We have a motion by Glenn. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Nemi. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next point meeting to public comment. Those wishing to speak must state their name and address for the record after they're acknowledged by the board chair. Each person will be limited to 2 minutes to make his or her remarks. Speakers will address all comments to the board as a whole and not one individual commissioner. The board may not take action on an item presented during the public comment period unless the item is already on the agenda for action. When appropriate, the board may refer inquiries and items brought up during the public comment period to the county administrator for follow-up. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll close the meeting to public comment. Next up is correspondence. We're in your board packet, page 28, some correspondence from Southern Minnesota Tourism Association. If you haven't had a chance to read that, I recommend you read through that. Move to consent. Any additions, changes to consent?
Mr. Chair.
The board like to pull anything from consent?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed.
Motion.
I'll second that.
A motion by Brady, a second by Krieger. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moves us to the general portion of our agenda. Scott, number 29, the administrator search. Scott, and
Mr. Chair, we have Liza here who can kind of give you an update, go through that. I did make copies right before the meeting for you there. So we're talking about the same things we did here a few months ago with the finance director position. So,
Well, good evening, Chair Abby and board. Excited to be here with you again as we move forward with a now county administrator search. So in your packet, I know you didn't have a lot of time to review this, but in your packet you'll see a copy of the proposed community and position profile that we'll use in our advertising materials. Much of it is the same as the finance director role. We did update the budget information found on the organizational structure page. And then the core duties of the position, obviously that has changed where it matches the job description for the position. And then you'll note that the biggest changes regarding the desired attributes and the upcoming projects and goals. The items that were on those two pages were based on the feedback that I received from department directors as well as individual board members who chose to forward information. So I'm really looking for your feedback. I want to make sure I make changes. I brought my red pen so that we can go ahead and make those changes. Because ultimately, once I receive your proposed changes and your approval, then we'll get started advertising tomorrow. So,
board's thoughts? I think we just got this handed to us a few
no,
minutes
so
ago.
I will be very, I can sit here quietly while you
All right,
review.
thank you. So you said this went to the department heads also, or there's some feedback?
We sent the email to the group, yes, department directors. Normally, I try to report on themes that I heard, and there were quite a few themes, but that's why I'm really eager just to hear feedback and just want to make sure that I'm accurately reflecting the desired attributes and the projects and goals that represent this county.
Liza, you've been involved in other searches similar to this. Is this pretty standard, or are you seeing something that jumps out at you, or
No.
any thoughts on your end on what we might want to add based on your experience?
Oh, sure, I understand what you're saying. No, so desired attributes are very fitting for what you would see at this level. I mean, communication is usually one of the strongest desired attributes I see in organizations across the board. The feeling that I got based on the feedback I received from those that participated is a strength in relationship building, team building, a focus on the importance of recruiting and retaining talented staff. There was a lot of talk about just the organization itself. So I think you'll see that and feel that through here. I think I mentioned perhaps in the last search that we did for a finance director, the culture of every organization is slightly different. And so there's usually projects that are slightly different. And so here I got the sense that there was a real focus on let's strengthen what's on the inside, and then that will ripple out into the community so that our residents can understand the importance and how exciting it would be to live, play, raise a family here. So those are the things that stood out to me.
I think the bullet point that says engage in the listening role.
Mr. Chair, I think if EDA finds us somebody that answers all the desired attributes and the upcoming projects and goals, she's done her job well.
I think I received an email that said, we may be looking for somebody similar to God. I've heard in other organizations, we're looking for a unicorn. I mean, yes, we're not going to find somebody who's touched on every single one of these points, but helps me be able to communicate what's important in trying to find the right fit. And then also, it helps me in identifying maybe some evidence in some of the resumes that cross my desk in order to ensure that, yes, indeed, I am presenting and pushing forward candidates who've had experience in these types of things.
I personally think overall it looks good.
Yeah, the first glance, it's really sitting down and analyzing it.
Mr. Chair, I had a question here on this one. Maybe I missed something here, but for immediate upcoming projects and goals, we got immediately immerse itself in the following projects, planning a tax system change. What?
Final bullet on the upcoming projects and goals.
Okay.
What are we talking about there?
Mr. Chair, I can answer that.
It was not.
So we've been talking a little bit about this long-term. It's kind of your enterprise system. You know, we currently have the IFS and the tax system that we use, you know, with CPT. And I think at some point, somebody's got to come in, and the administrator has to be the lead of this, is pull the departments together and take a look at what, if any, changes need to be made. Do we need to look at a different type of system? I mean, we are using some really antiquated, the IFS system is pretty antiquated, to say the least. And so I think it's a process that you have to take a look at and utilize the staff to see, and also look around at what other counties have been doing in that respect, so that we, you know, if we're going to take a plunge, it's a big deal to make that change, and there's going to be some pain involved in making a change, but long term, we also have to be thinking, you know, from that visionary side, is the system we have, some of the components are outdated, and so we need to do something. We've got an AS400 system that isn't really even supported anymore, so it needs to be looked at. That's what it is. It's our tax system that we use to.
So, Mr. Chair, just a quick comment along that line. So instead of planning a tax system change, would maybe be evaluating for a tax system change?
Yeah, that's
Incorporated.
Yeah. I mean, if part of what we have works well, but we need to revamp something.
yeah, that can be worded differently. I didn't do a very good job there clarifying that, but I knew what I meant, but I didn't do a good job of explaining.
Sure.
Readers?
Yep.
You're on that, do you agree with that, or on that committee?
Well, good question. This is the first I've heard that we're looking at a different.
You're basically saying taking planning and putting evaluating there, which is suggesting.
You know, I think that's pretty broad. We should be evaluating all the time. I don't think there's any harm in putting that in there, that we should evaluate.
No, I don't
Existing
either,
change
as
as
long
well,
as
as
it's-
long as we, whoever we hire is gonna be evaluating everything. It should be part of the process, so. I don't see a downside to that. So this really isn't a job description per se, this is what we're advertising for.
This is what we're advertising for, but the core duties of the job is verbiage from your job description. And when we post the job on our website, we include a link to this, we include a link to the job description, we also include a link to the county website so
Okay.
that applicants can research as much as they need to.
Any other thoughts from the board?
Looks fine to me, I think it looks good.
Is there any more for us that we should be looking at? And the timeline, I guess, is,
Yep, your timeline is the last item that we want to take a look at. You have a copy of that. I have dates highlighted in yellow. Those are the dates that I'll need your participation in, and I'll need you to be at those meetings. Those are also the dates that we'll put in our advertising materials, and those are the dates that we use to remind our candidates, and then our semifinalists, and then finally our finalists that look at, please reserve this date in your calendar for interviews, for instance. We have that scheduled tentatively for March 19th in the morning. Another important date that'll be coming before us is February 27th, that's where you select your finalists for interviews. We have a special meeting tentatively scheduled for before 2 o'clock that day. So those are the important days. I want to make sure that you've had a chance to take a look at your calendar. You'll be in attendance, or you'll be able to at least provide me some feedback via email for that February 27th meeting.
These pretty, set in stone, or they will,
They will be set in stone once we approve it tonight. If you know right now that they don't work, this is the time to talk about that.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to say that I'd like to have a little more time to go through the questions. Like last time we didn't have much time, we went through there just to add some questions.
Oh, you mean for the final interview?
If I don't know you bet.
So I don't think get them ahead of time or
Yep.
add.
So 1 week before the final interviews, on March 19th, I pushed forward an email packet with all the information and background on your finalists. And then there will be the list of interview questions in there. So that is where I'll have you take a chance to review it. If you have initial feedback, please email it to me right away. But then on the 19th, before we get started on the interviews, that's where I'll ask for, okay, here's where we get to make any final changes that we want to make to those questions. So you'll have a chance to look at them twice. And if you have any questions right off the bat that you feel are really important, then I welcome that at any time, and I'll put it on a list of questions.
Another question, Mr. Chair, is it customary to have the offer and agreement a week later?
We do tend to move fairly quickly. I don't like to lose finalists by dragging out the negotiating period. So typically I can get negotiations done within 3 to 5 days. And I would use the goal of, having it approved, the employment agreement approved at your March 26th meeting, because then it sets the clock going for your finalists, who then can put in their notice, and then hopefully within a month they're in the chair, which would be near the end of April.
Thank you.
any other questions on the timeline? Scott?
Yeah, just a note here, I did communicate with Liza. When I looked at these dates, there were some conflicts there that I saw, so she changed to meet that need.
Which ones were they?
They were I think the 27th and the 19th. They were changed from what was originally proposed.
Oh.
One was during our legislative conference and whatever, the week before. What I would say on the 27th, the other thing that you should think about is if you like the way that it worked with the finance director, this selection of finalists was done by 2 of you. So you appointed 2 people on the board, so you didn't have to schedule a board meeting to select the finalists, and then you were all involved on the interviews for the finalists. So if you want to follow that same
Mr. Chair.
format.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I've been more than willing to serve in that since I was gone.
Is that the board's wishes? Do you think that was a good format, where we had two on a committee that had to narrow it down, or would you prefer that everybody sit in on that?
I know, Mr. Chair, I know the last time we hired our last administrator, the whole board interviewed a number of people, never done it, did we?
No, we only had 3. We interviewed all 3 of them. We have the administrator from Owatonna, the city administrator from Jackson, Minnesota, and Scott.
And the administrator from Canyon, city of Canyon, that's right.
City administrator.
Well, you went through, excuse me, Mr. Chair, you went through 2 rounds, remember? You went through 1 round and you offered the job, and then that didn't work out. And then you went through the second one, and that was, I think, the candidates that you mentioned, Commissioner Krieger. So you went through it twice, but that was interview the finalists. So I think you're all in agreement, you're probably going to do that. You're going to all be involved in the finalists, but do you all want to be involved in selecting who the finalists are to interview? I think that's not an interview process, that's just a selection review. Liza will bring forward probably a list of semifinalists, and then you'll determine who you would like to interview from that.
Well, I think there were, for the finance one, there were 6, weren't there?
Right, so,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, I could describe the process. So, once the posting closes on January 31st, the very next day, I will screen the applicants and then select the semifinalists. Try to pick a reasonable number because ultimately it will lean on you. So I'm estimating anywhere between 8 and 12 semifinalists. I assign tasks to those semifinalists. Not only will I have a copy of the resume and the cover letter, but I'll also have them complete video interviews. So we ask them 5 questions. They have a minute and a half to answer each question. And then they'll complete a work personality index, which just kind of shows you where their work personality strengths lie. And then I have them answer an information disclosure question. So it's their opportunity to present anything that may come up in their background ahead of time. So then, 1 week before that February 27th date, I push out an email to you all who are in the comfort of your home, and you can review their information. It takes about 35 to 45 minutes per semifinalist to review that information. So I ask that you do that week before, so that when I come on February 27th, I'm going to ask you each individually, okay, who are you most interested in being? Who are you most? And then it's through a process that we're very quickly able to determine, all right, here's our top 3 to 5 finalists that we want to meet on March 19th. So,
Mr. Chair, do you think you're going to get as many as 10 or 12 as you just mentioned, or you're just saying that?
it's an average. I generally try to select 8 to no more than 12 because it just gets to be very time intensive for you and overwhelming. So, yes.
Okay, so you think, well, okay.
Mr. Chair, if I could just make a suggestion, I thought having 2 commissioners involved in that kind of preliminary process, along with the administrator and I would guess maybe 1 or 2 directors, or maybe HR, worked really well because I think it weeded it down to then the ones we as a group interviewed. And I would recommend that we have the chair and vice chair for those 2 people.
Commissioner Brady, any thoughts?
That's what I think. We'll all give input after watching the.
Yep. Yeah, then you got to get back to her and let her know what your thoughts are.
I feel confident in the process. I thought it went well.
It really worked
last
well.
time.
Yeah, that's what we had last time, was chair and vice chair, and I just think that's a process that seemed to work pretty well.
Is the board okay with that?
That's fine.
Julie?
So I'll come up here so I'm not yelling. One question I had just for your thought with this timeline that's put together, It really doesn't, most people have to give a month's notice typically if they're in a director role or an administrator role. That will not leave any overlap time. If that's a concern for the board, because Scott is done on April 12th, I just wondered, is there any way, if you're interested in having Liza look at it, can we tighten up anywhere to try to allow for overlap of even a week with Scott? That was just my thing I wanted to throw out for the board to weigh in on.
Thank you. I guess I,
Mr. Chair, could we have any department center around here, we could probably place in place just for interim for just a week or 2 weeks or something? If she's thinking it's too close, I mean, I see what she's getting at.
No, I think she wants him to be able to work with, him or her to work with Scott.
Right, but God, are you willing to stay longer?
we're not at that point yet, are we? I think the question is probably better to Liza. Do you think we can tighten up this time frame at all to make it happen? Or is that not doable?
Right, I did really try to smush it as much as possible, and I honestly, I don't know, it wouldn't be by very much, honestly. I mean, we could maybe shorten it by a week, but not much. So, and I apologize for that, that's probably because I have other commitments in there as well, so that's partly the reason, but also
So,
by the time we do backgrounding and.
so the screening of applicants, that time frame from February 1st to the 19th, that's a stretch in there.
It is a big stretch in there, and that is because there is, I do have another commitment during that time. So I could ask somebody from my staff to try and step in and post that portion of it. We've met Bart Fisher, so I could certainly ask if he has availability to come in and kind of host that process.
Because Julie does bring up a good point, it would be nice to get someone in that seat to have that overlap if possible and not have to ask Scott to stay on any longer. So if that's possible, if you could check with your staff and see if there's any way that we can take it up.
Or even shorten up the candidate recruitment by even a couple days.
Okay.
I mean, that's just a long problem.
Right.
Did the offered agreement be moved up to? We did with
You're talking on that March 19th to the March 26th period?
I mean, we do that and shorten up these steps,
We at least squeeze
Yeah, even if
at
we
least
could
a week out of there, probably
Buy
2
it
weeks.
in a week to 10 days, and there's somehow.
Mr. Chair, if we shorten it up for the selection of finalists from the 27th, if it's the 22nd or before, I will be able to do it. Set in for that.
What now?
If we shorten this up for the selection of finalists from February 27th, if we push it a week ahead, I won't be able to do that. I won't be able to set on the.
On the selection committee?
Correct. That's what
Then we can, I think that's the idea though, is we want to move that up if we can, so with that being said, then we could, if someone else wants to sit up.
Yeah, I can, the 23rd would be, that I could be here from the 23rd on, but not before then.
So we have two things, we're asking Liza to tighten up the timeline here if possible, and it sounds like that might work. And then Commissioner Brady's indicated that he's, wouldn't be able to sit on that committee if that timeline does get moved up. So is there anyone else on the board that would want to sit on that committee?
Well, but if it's on the, you said from the 23rd on, you'd be able to do it.
23rd up, but if that gets shortened
Four
up,
days.
before the 23rd I can, so that's being done.
How about if we do this? How about if Commissioner Brady agrees to sit on that committee, I'll be on the committee, and if the timeline changes, we can get an alternate.
I'll be more than glad to do it, if he asks me. Doesn't work.
Or I could, or
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
We'll figure that out later.
Perfect.
All right, wonderful. So I will modify the schedule, send it first thing in the morning to Scott for his review, and then once I get his approval, then I'll change the dates within the advertising materials, and we'll get started advertising tomorrow.
Thank you, Liza.
Mr. Chair, do we need to, I think we want to move on this, do we need to approve it with modifications tonight?
Yes, I think that's true.
And
I think so.
leave that up to your discretion? I will make that motion that
No,
we
second.
approve both the profile and the schedule with the modifications. And let Scott make the final decisions.
You heard the motion, is there a second?
Hmm.
Second by Mimi. Any further discussion or direction for Liza? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Drive safe as always. That brings us to number 30 on our board agenda. It's the board committee appointments and committee structure on page 72 of your board packet. Amy, who wants to cover that? I think this was discussed at the session. Is there any thoughts from the board on the committee assignments for 2024?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the 2024 county board committee assignments as presented.
We have a motion by Krieger. Is there a second? Second by Moody. We have a motion and a second to approve the board committee appointments as printed. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair? It's the committee appointments and it's committee structure. We can all lump it all together.
Is that your motion?
Okay, it wasn't on this. Yeah, I will add that if you.
Yeah, I agree. That's right.
It's been amended. Any discussion?
We're moving committee.
Appointments and committee structure for 2024.
Okay, I myself personally like to raise the per diem on the people on our citizen committees from 65 to 70.
That's the next item.
Okay, that's what I said.
Yep. So you've heard the motion, and we had a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, that moves us to a resolution for the 2024 citizen per diem on page 77 of your board packet.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion for the citizens per diem amounts to be raised to $70 and from 65.
It's a resolution.
On the resolution.
Okay. Resolution's been offered, and it's, with the change to, would you say 75?
70.
To 70?
I'll second that, everybody.
Second, is there any discussion?
Yeah, I was just, we gotta go up some because it's just, it's really hard to find somebody to take these spots. And that probably should be a little more than that, but at least we're moving the increments a little bit in the right direction, I feel.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The resolution passes. Next up is a resolution for delegation of duties, salary and per diem on page 79 of your board packet. Who wants to cover that? Scott, you want to chime in?
Mr. Chair, board members, this is another one of those annual items that you do. The change is obviously in the titles here from previous, it was auditor, treasurer, finance director. Now it's property tax and elections director, finance director.
Okay, what's the board's wishes?
I'll offer the resolution.
Offered by Glenn, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Krieger, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Resolution passes. Next up is award publication bid for 2024 on page 81 of your board packet.
Mr. Chair, Jennifer can lead this discussion too. Open the bids and
All right.
walk you through this.
So we received 2 bids, one from the Owatonna People's Press and one from the Steele County Times. I would recommend that the Owatonna People's Press be awarded the first bid
Okay.
with the lower cost.
And this is for printing of the financial statements for Sims 2024 delinquent tax list for 23 and all other legal publications as required.
Correct.
All right. Do we have any questions for Jennifer?
Pretty obvious.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we award the Owatonna People's Press the publication bid for printing of the financial statement for 2023, Commissioner proceedings for 2024, delinquent tax list for 2023, and all other legal publications as required.
And I'll second that. That right, you can't beat it.
We have a motion by Krieger, a second by Neely. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up is award second publication bid. Jennifer, you want to cover that one? It's pretty straightforward. It's award the second publication bid for the 2023 financial statement to another paper located in the county.
Mr. Chair, board members, since we only received 2, the other paper is the Steele County Times.
All right. Board's wishes.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to award the second publication bid to Steele County Times.
Motion by Brady, is there a second?
I'll do it again.
Motion by Mooney to award the second publication bid for the 2023 financial statement to another paper located in the county, which is the Steele County Times. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
What does a county do that only has one paper?
What are you doing? I mean,
Is
it's-
it rain down, huh?
I don't know.
All right, next up is the citizen appointments on page 83 of your board packet. This is to reappoint those members whose terms expired in 2023 and to appoint new members to replace Amy Gillis and Tim Nelson, whose 3-year terms expired in 2023. Have a chance to review that. Any questions? Board's wishes.
I'll make a motion to appoint the committee of appointment of those who have been stated here on the page 83.
Motion by Amy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Glenn. Any further discussion?
I would just like to add, I want to thank Dan Hansen for stepping up and Dawn Casper for stepping up to take those 2 new positions.
Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries. All right, thank you. And no presentations tonight.
Mr. Chair, we got one more item there, 36.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's why I had Jennifer stay.
I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself tonight.
She was getting ready to throw some at you.
This is a resolution authorizing a county absentee ballot board for the 2024 election cycle, page 85. I apologize.
That's all right. Yeah, so we are looking for the board to authorize myself to delegate the duties of the ballot board, absentee ballot, and you will have a ballot board.
Any questions for Jennifer?
Mr. Chair, I'll move the resolution to approve authorizing the county absentee ballot board for the 2024 election cycle.
I'll
Resolution's
second that.
been offered and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now I can ask, any presentations?
None, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Brings us to commissioner reports. Commissioner Glenn.
I have nothing to report.
I did a meeting for criminal justice today where we had a presentation about the ankle bracelet system that they use with community corrections and the fact that it is making a huge difference in recidivism and is doing what it's supposed to be doing. So it was a very, very informative report.
Thank you. Scott, you have anything for us today?
Just one thing, since you're not meeting again until January 23rd, and we have the upcoming EMC Legislative Conference on February 21st and 22nd, if you could let Rebecca know if you plan to attend that by the end of the week, that would be helpful in our plan for that. That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Eby?
I was on vacation for the last 2 weeks. I'm sorry, I didn't do much, that's about it.
Vacation's important. Thank you. Commissioner Brady?
Mr. Chair, I had no meetings within the last week. Thank you.
And I have none to report as well. All right, so next meeting notices, Internal Central Services, Wednesday, January 3rd, 8 a.m. in the boardroom. Property and Maintenance Committee, Thursday, January 4th, 8 a.m. in the boardroom. Public Safety and Health Committee, Wednesday, January 10th at 8 a.m. in the boardroom. Public Works Committee, Thursday, January 11th, 8 a.m. Public Works Facility. Land and Use Records Committee, Thursday, January 16th, 8 a.m. in the boardroom. County Board Work Session, Tuesday, January 23rd at 4 p.m. in the boardroom. And the County Board meeting, Tuesday, January 23rd at 5 p.m. in the boardroom. With that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. I'm guessing no discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.